Hey Soul Family, I hope everyone's doing great today. We're going to talk about fragmentation of the spirit is how the shadows are created. So, as you know, I am a shadow work coach, and it's important to understand where these shadows are coming from and how they are developed, because this is going to help us to understand how to heal from them and call back in the parts of us that are gone and lost. So when we have experiences that make us feel unsafe, violated, they make us feel abandoned, spiritually and physically assaulted or rejected, this is when our soul begins to fragment. This is when our spirit decides that it is not safe in this vessel. It is not safe here on this earth plane. So it retreats to the light realms. It leaves our body. There are pieces of us that fragment and leave our body, and they no longer inhabit us. And as these fragments leave and go towards the light, they begin to cast a shadow. They cast a shadow energy in the void that is left, the space that is left. So over time, as more and more fragments leave our body, we begin to feel the emptiness. That's when we feel that void, that emptiness. And this is when the shadow aspects begin to try to extract spiritual energy from the environment. That is when they begin to act out in various different ways. Some of these ways are manipulation, control, abusing others, gossip, verbal abuse, sexual exchanges. The list goes on and on and on. So these are ways that the shadow energy tries to extract spiritual energy, because that part of the self has fractured and left. It is no longer feeling safe here, so it left. So that void casts the shadow, and then we have the shadow aspects. So that's why it's so important that when you're doing this healing work, we have got to look at things in the spiritual realm. And that doesn't have to be religious. It doesn't have to be any specific thing. It can be exactly tailored to your beliefs and whatever is the path of least resistance for you. But it is very important, because every single one of us has spiritual energy that is existing before we incarnate, and continuously while we are incarnating on this planet. So part of this spiritual work is to call back in those pieces that have left, that are not embodying your vessel anymore. So one of the ways that we have to do this is by processing what has created the shadow energy, what has created our spirit to say, I'm not okay to be in this realm right now, and I'm going to fragment. So we have got to look at those situations and find a way to process them in a way that we can begin to retrieve those broken pieces of our spirit, of our soul that have left. So that's going to look different in many different ways for everyone. There are different processes for different experiences, and it's going to be, some of the things are going to require grieving. Some of them are going to require deep journaling and connecting parts of the story together so that they can be acknowledged and understood at a deeper level. Some of it is going to be through alchemy, which is turning the darkness into something creative and beautiful and of purpose to others. That is alchemy. And another way is purely from prayer, meditation, bringing, consciously visualizing and calling in the spiritual realms to start coming back into your body. So with all of these different ways, that is how we begin to bring those soul fragments back. And so that you no longer feel that emptiness and that void. Okay? You no longer have to be in that absolute deep, dark state of feeling empty. Because whenever these fragments, after so many times, over and over and over again, parts of you leave your body, that is what creates that emptiness, that depression, that anxiety, because you're feeling anxiety because your spirit is not in there filling the holes. It is allowing energy from the world and everything that you're experiencing to penetrate your auric field because you're not able to inhabit and embody your spirit. So it's so important to heal. And even with thought processes, the holes that are in the auric field from fragmentation create gaps where intrusive thoughts can come in, and negative hooks, pattern hooks can come and get lodged into your psyche. Also, there's some other more conspiracy theorist type of viewpoints as well, which are, the frequencies that are being transmitted from the nefarious forces that can also reach you easier when your spirit is not fully embodied in your body. So the other part of this too is that with the healing journey, you are going to continue to work on this spiritual embodiment. Spiritual embodiment is one of the most important things to healing the shadow, because like I mentioned before, the shadow aspect is what is created from the spiritual fragmentation. So important that this is one of the absolute most important key factors of the shadow work. So if you are ready to dive deeper this year and get into the shadow work, the processing, and get to the point where you are retrieving pieces of your spirit and soul back into your body so that you can feel joy again, you can feel fullness in your heart and your psyche and your mind, and have dictation over what is happening in your life, go to my website, www.akasharise.com, and book a free discovery call. I would love to talk with you so that we can create a plan that is specific for you and will work with your budget, your schedule, and your goals. So I would love to talk to you, and I hope you all have a very blessed day.